banking. Once we figured out what our income would be, now let's think about what are we going to do with that money? Where should it go? As an adult, to be somewhat financially independent, you need to have a bank account. So let's start talking about money. When you get paid, you will have the opportunity to have a check given to you or direct deposit. Now, direct deposit is when the payment is put right into your bank account and you specify if you want it to go into a savings account or a checking account and which account you want it to go into, if it's yours or a joint account or something along those lines. But you'll want to have your money somewhere. Most banks will not let you even cash your check if you don't have an account. Now, a bank is a financial institution that records transactions. It saves your money for you. It doesn't put it in this huge vault. It's all electronic. And banks are always for profit. So you'll find that you have more fees with a bank than you might with another institution. A credit union does the same thing as a bank. It's just a non-profit. They need to be able to cover their expenses, but they're not for profit. You will find that many employers will give you what they call a pay card. This is a way that employers can pay employees. It can be refilled every payday. It's not related to your bank, but only to the employer's bank. But this makes it very difficult for you as the employee to save that money or even access the actual cash. It's all digital. It's supposedly on there. There's no transfer of anything. So some employees really like that, but it keeps you at a point where you're not able to actually save any money. So that makes it very difficult for you as the employee. A debit card, this is a card for ATM. You can use it for bills, for shopping. The money will come directly out of your bank account, and there is no interest charged for using it. A credit card is a card, same thing as a debit card, except it's a short-term loan from another bank. So this would cost you fees and interest and has to be paid back, and you need to make monthly payments on it. So don't get caught getting a credit card if you don't have a way to pay it back. That can be very dangerous and very bad for your credit. So what is the difference between a bank and a credit union? So I'll go through those, but as you can see, there are some real differences and there are some not so big differences. You need to consider what products you need and what fees are assessed, and if you're okay with that. What's easier and most convenient? Maybe your family has an account with one bank and that makes it a lot easier for you to have an account at that bank. Maybe you think it'd be easier to have an account at the same institution that your employer has. You need to take those things into consideration. But always look at the products and the fees, because they will differ between institutions, from a larger bank to a smaller bank, a large credit union to a small credit union. So as you can see, on the left-hand side, it says credit unions, and then on the right-hand side, it has banks. Credit unions are non-profit. They some make you be affiliated with something to be a part of it or a member of it. That's not happening as often anymore as it used to be. So you may have to look at what credit union is near you, what their requirements are. Credit unions tend to have fewer products, but their products are pretty versatile. You can use them for a few other things. You may not be able to get a small business loan through them, but you would be able to get a car loan. It says they're less accessible, and I'm not sure. I think it depends on your community and where you live. There are fewer fees. They do have better interest rates, and a lot of times when they do have fees, the fees aren't as crippling as a bank's fees. This is member owned, so they will send you out a ballot every now and again to see if you want to have a say in who's on the board and those kinds of things. And they're backed up or insured by the NCUA, which is the National Credit Union Association, up to $250,000 in your accounts. banks are always for profit. Anybody can have an account with a bank. But I'm not even sure that that's the case anymore after starting or opening one for my daughters. They want to do a credit history check. They want to know if you've ever bailed on a bank or left a bank because you have too much debt to them or you're in arrears to them. So they're starting to be a little bit more choosy based on your credit scores. A bigger bank has more products, more opportunities for anybody to have an account there. They tend to be a little bit more accessible, and again, it depends on where you live and what's in your community. The nice thing about some of these larger banks is that they are nationwide. So my children live here in the summer, and then they live in Ohio during the school year. So they needed to find a bank that they could access here and there, so that it wouldn't cause them any disruption in their services. Banks tend to have more fees. They don't have as good in the interest rates, and their fees tend to be a little bit more expensive. This is shareholder owned, so again, it's for profit. So if you are a shareholder of a bank, you will get you'll get a payment at the end of the year, or when profits reach a certain point. So it's all about who can make money on it, and it's not always the person who has their money deposited in that bank. All banks are insured by the FDIC, which is a federal program. The NCUA and the FDIC were created after the Great Depression to insure people's money so that if a bank went under or was bankrupt, the people who still had their money in the bank would be able to access their money and they wouldn't be completely broke. So that's the difference between credit unions and banks. So let's look at choosing what institution is right for you. So 6 things to consider. What type of an account do you need? Do you need a savings account, a checking account? Do you need multiple savings accounts? Do you need a high yield or something that you can use a lot? Are you looking for a better interest rate? So think about, what kind of an account do you need? What kind of fees are assessed and why? Maybe there's an annual fee or an overdraft fee, an ATM fee, out-of-network fees, any kind of allowable transaction fees, transferring money or receiving deposits or using your checks, or maybe I've met my limit. They only limit me to 5 checks a month and I had to write a 6th check. How big is that fee going to be? So some of those are things to consider when you're choosing a bank. The next thing is digital features. So here we are in this technology bound world, and not all banks and credit unions offer the opportunity to have a digital feature or have an account on their phone. You need to be aware of those opportunities. My personal bank does not offer that. And it makes it very difficult for me, especially now that we're in, in kind of in our stay home, stay safe situation. So, what can you see, and what kind of things can you access using your phone? Can you do online banking? Will they allow you to transfer money from one account to another? Do you have the availability to do digital deposits where you sign the check and you take a picture of it and then it goes right into your bank account? Can you check out your balance of your accounts, or can you look and see if there has been a transaction account? Can you lock a card if you lose your debit card or a credit card or a card that's associated with the account? Can you lock that from your phone so nobody can have access? Accessibility, that's another feature to consider. Where's your closest branch? What bank is closest to where you live or where you work? Maybe there isn't an actual physical branch, but there's an ATM. Can you use ATMs out of your network without accruing huge fees? Those are some things to consider. Are you always going to live in this area? Or are you planning to move on? So you'll want to consider like, with my children, they may not live in St. Clair County their whole entire lives. So they may want to go with a larger bank or a larger credit union where they have access to the same features or that same bank at a different branch closest to where they're going to school or where they're living. What features do you want? Checking, savings, debit, credit cards, bank cards. I have credit cards in there twice. That's funny. Student accounts, Christmas clubs, scholarships, loans. You'll want to look at those kinds of things, and then look at the terms and conditions. So a lot of times when you go on a bank account or a bank's homepage, you can see a lot of times what their terms and conditions are for using their bank. Read them and understand how that bank is going to handle your money. How will the bank or credit union help ease your life, and at the same time keep you safe from people out there who are trying to tap into your accounts or into your personal life and take your money. What do they do to make that right for you as a customer? Keep those things into consideration. Once you have done that, then you choose what is best for you. Is it a bank or is it a credit union? Is it something big or something small? So the last thing I want to show you is a list of banks and credit unions in St. Clair County. We have Fifth Third, Chemical Bank, and it has headquarters right in Port Huron. North Star, Chase, which is huge, Eastern Michigan, a small bank, and Huntington, which is a huge bank. So Fifth Third, Chase, and Huntington would be a great choice if you're going to leave the county or you're going to leave the state and you want to be able to access your accounts anywhere. Chemical Bank is also a really great bank. They do a good job, but they're more of a local bank. So is North Star and Eastern Michigan. Like it says, it's just here in our area. Credit unions, Advia, Genesis, Flagship Federal, Bell River Community, Riverview Community, and Blue Water Federal Credit Union. Some of these, Genesis and Advia, tend to be a larger credit union situation. They're more pronounced throughout the state. So a lot of times credit unions are something that's right in your area. So you might want to look at those things. Sometimes credit unions are really good with helping you with situations because you're dealing with a person one-on-one that's more in the know of what's happening in your community. So we've completed Zello. Now you have a career choice and you figured out what your income will be, your weekly income and monthly income, and now you are looking for a bank. So you've got 3 pieces together for your financial independence. The next thing that we will talk about is renters agreements and lease agreements and how to choose what and where you live. And then we will talk about personal budgets. I hope everybody is doing well. We miss you in the building, and we will see you soon.